Good morning, everybody. I assume it's morning for everybody. If there's one or two people from the United States, it will be very, very early morning. Thank you very much for joining our webinar today. I'm going to be taking you through some workflow automation and things like that. Just a little bit of housekeeping before the time. You're welcome to ask some questions in the Ask Questions section of the webinar control panel. I will try to answer the questions as we go on verbally, and obviously I will get back to you with questions and answers after the webinar for those that we do not get to. So for a start, I'd like to just very briefly run you through a short PowerPoint presentation, just so that we can get some background on what we're going to discuss today. So the DocuWare, as hopefully most of you know, I know that we've got some new customers as well. So obviously today we're focusing only on workflow. So if you have any questions or you'd like to get some more information about the other sections that we discussed today, please do not hesitate to ask. So DocuWare focuses on digitization, document management, and workflow automation, if we had to group all of the features and functions of DocuWare together. Digitization focuses on the capture of the information and to digitize that information so that I can use it more intelligently. So we can view that as the capture part of document management, or the basic part of document management. Document management specifically looks at enhancing the digitization further, so extracting data from that, especially with our intelligent indexing tool, extracting that in a more intelligent way, and then being able to manage that content for various things like records management, integration into ERP systems, and so forth. The last part, and the part that we're going to be discussing today, is now the automation of processes around the content that we have captured. So to make us more effective and efficient based on those productivity points. So how are we going to optimize processes or even automate processes that we do in our day-to-day life, the routine, the stuff that we generally think we have to do. And now how are we going to look at improving that a little bit better. Also, very briefly, DocuWare manages just about any document type, and that can be imported into DocuWare. Seems like I got muted there for a second. Apologies for that. So to capture content into the DocuWare engine so that the workflow engine can use that content or the data associated to that content, and that we can view our information in either web browsers, mobile applications, web portals, so that we'll be able to share that information in an intelligent way. From a workflow perspective, today I'm going to be covering an accounts payable workflow. And for those of you that's seen the standard one, don't worry, this is hopefully a new one. And you need to keep in mind and keep an open head about what is possible based on the functionality that you are seeing. Because workflow automation can touch just about any process within the organization, whether that be in the accounting department, HR department, R&D, logistics, whatever the case may be. So the way that we handle those processes on a day-to-day basis can be automated. And of course, in any industry or vertical, wherever you might find yourself. Just a very, very brief look at DocuWare Cloud. I know that we've got some customers on the line that already uses DocuWare in an on-site environment. The DocuWare Cloud environment runs on the Microsoft Azure backbone and includes every single feature and function of DocuWare. So it's quite unique cloud environment as to where our on-site and cloud environments are completely replicated. However, based on the licenses that we provide, you will have the full feature set available to you. So let's not waste more time. I'm going to jump directly into the demo. And I hope that everybody sees my screen. I'm sure Alex will let me know if something is wrong. So what you are looking at is the DocuWare web client. Most of you will know the look. And I have already captured 4 accounts payable invoices. Very brief information. Those invoices can be scanned into the system, directly sent from Microsoft Outlook, or we can even monitor mailboxes to automatically import those invoices. So you could tell your suppliers to send accounts payable invoices, for instance, to invoices@companyname.com for you to be able to import those invoices. So from the 4 accounts payable invoices that I've now captured, and they've come into my DocuWare in tray, I can see that 3 of these documents have green tags, and I can see that 1 has a red tag. So green is hopefully in most cultures a very good color, and obviously when they are green, DocuWare tells me that the data that it extracted off the page is 100% correct, or it feels that it's 100% confident in the data that it actually captured. On the left-hand side, I've got my metadata or index criteria that I have to find, completely customizable, what I want to extract of these invoices. And obviously, this first invoice is a telephone bill, and I can see the data that it already fetched off the page. I can even here click on invoice number, and it shows me where on the page it actually fetched this information. So yes, for the demo, I'm cheating a little bit because this invoice I've captured before. So the system is 100% confident that it fetched all of the data. With a new invoice, it would never be 100% confident and always would want to check with me first before actually confirming that it's 100% accurate. And these invoices that's marked as green, I can also capture automatically into the system. So I'm going to go ahead and store this document. And then I'm very quickly going to capture the other 3 green documents as well to just speed up this process a little bit. We only have 30 minutes. We want to get through quite a lot. Once again, another invoice. I can see that this one is quite a high amount. I can also see that there's a purchase order number that I fetched off the page. So that should be an interesting invoice to look at. And my other one that is green here, I want to store this document. Once again, all of the data fetched off the page, and I can go ahead and store that. Now I get to a red one. So this one is interesting. Once again, metadata that I have to find, and some of the information is fetched off the page for me, but a limited amount. Right? So the Document Intelligent Indexing tool uses our crowd learning technology, and it would, even if somebody else have captured this invoice before, have a very good idea of the data that it needs to fetch off the page, except if the metadata or indexing criteria that you have to find is completely unique and nobody else uses it all over the world. Obviously, this invoice hasn't been captured before, and all I have to do to teach intelligent indexing where to look in the future is simply to click on the field and then select the text on the right-hand side that I want to index. All right? I do not have a vendor number at this stage, or I could have created a vendor number for this vendor, but I can leave that open. I can see an invoice number on the page, invoice date, due date. I do not have to change this information. Intelligent indexing will know that if I do not change it, it can fetch that information in the future. No PO on this invoice. I can select the subtotal here, and there's no tax and freight charges on this invoice to worry about. So I can go ahead and store it. Even if I had to go through that process every time of indexing a document, you can imagine that it is quite a bit quicker than manually capturing that information into my ERP system. Okay, so just for information's sake, I am not going to switch between users for this webinar to save time. I'm currently logged in as the administrator, and I'm going to stay logged in as the administrator, and we'll just follow the workflow through the different users. So I'm going to click on my task section here, which shows my workflow tasks. I can see that I have no tasks as the administrator, but if I click on monitor tasks, I can now see that there's 3 tasks in the validation section of my workflow, and there's 1 task in the book and pay section of my workflow. So the workflow engine has automatically identified those 4 invoices that I've captured, and it started analyzing and pushing that data of the invoice through a workflow engine, and it's performing the actions it's supposed to perform. So I've got 3 options, 3 actions here in the validation, and it clearly tells me what the activity is. So if I click on this first invoice of Phone Wizard, I can look at the document once again on the right-hand side, and I've got some standard options that I've pre-configured in the workflow on the left bottom side of the screen. So the user has got currently the ability to assign this invoice. She's got the ability to request a new invoice should there be an error on the invoice, or reject the invoice. Obviously, this is completely customizable based on the process within your own organization. In this case, I'm going to say I want to assign this invoice, but I also don't want to assign it to only 1 cost center. I've got my list of cost centers here. I don't want to assign it to 1 cost center. It's a telephone bill. I want to go ahead and click on the GL coding link that I've got on the workflow, which then opens for me a view where I can assign this invoice to responsible people within the organization. And once again, I've got a view of the document on the right-hand side. So I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to say GL account. This is obviously a telephone bill, so I want to push that to the general ledger telephone bill, integrated with my accounting system, of course, to fetch those general ledger information. I want to assign a cost center here, and I want to say the responsible person for that cost center. All of this is completely customizable based on your organization. I want to assign an amount, US-based invoice, so this is in dollars. I want to add another line item here. Once again, I want to assign that to telephone. I want to say for the next cost center and who's responsible. Obviously, cost center numbers, could be cost center text, everything completely customizable in this environment. And I want to go ahead and save that. So those two people have now has to approve the amount that I have now assigned to them for that specific invoice. I can see that I've got other tasks here as well. I can see that there is reminder dates and due dates set on those tasks. And I can see the current user is that it's currently assigned to. Obviously, if I'm logged into that user will see only his tasks. The system will also automatically send email notifications and escalations based on the information. So if I haven't reacted to an invoice in a specific time or to a task within a specific time period, it can remind me or escalate that to my manager. For you to have a quick view of what those escalations look like, I'm going to open Outlook. I've obviously been running the system for quite some time, so I've got quite a lot of notifications in here, hopefully. Apologies for that pop-up. So here I've got a reminder, for instance, which is quite an old one, that tells me that I've got an invoice. It tells me invoice number and all of the information in this email, also completely customizable. I also have a link here that will take me directly to the invoice in this case. So even if somebody had to approve something on a mobile phone, all they have to do is click on the link in the email on the mobile phone. It will automatically open up our mobile app so that you can approve the invoice and even view the information for the invoice on the fly. Let's pop back to the web client, and I can see that I have an invoice there that is currently assigned to Elizabeth Cash, and Elizabeth Cash is our CFO in this environment. She opens it up and she looks at the invoice storage expert, and here it tells her that there's a potential duplicate in this invoice. She's also got standard options here on the left hand side for this step in the workflow, and she can either right click on the document and she can look at related documents. In this case, there's a duplicate invoice, or she can click on the link here and she can click on duplicate invoice. And the system automatically takes it to the duplicate invoice. So she can now refer the two invoices with each other and confirm that in fact this is a duplicate invoice. And then obviously based on the workflow that we have set up, we can then decide what to do with this document. In this case, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to reject this document, and my reason is duplicate invoice already processed. And I'm going to go ahead and confirm that, which will then close my workflow tasks. And I can also now send an automated notification to my supplier, because I've got the information for the supplier in my system, email address, contact person, to let them know that there was a duplicate invoice and this one was rejected. If there's an error, please contact me with my contact details within the notification, completely automated by the workflow engine. Now I've got another one here, another task here. I can see that this task is assigned to Peggy Jenkins. Peggy Jenkins is a more junior person within the finance department. And she sees there's a new invoice, and the invoice is for a new supplier. And we've got a request, a US-based W-9 document. Obviously, within every organization and in every area in the world, there's a specific process that we have to follow around supplier onboarding. And in this case, this is the US-based example that we are following around supplier onboarding. So here it's asking for the vendor email address. I could potentially have that information, but because it's a new vendor, I might have to find that. And I'm going to use, in this case, Peter Strom at mailhome.com. And I'm going to hit confirm. Right. So now the workflow engine is going to send a notification to that person saying that there's action that you need to perform to become a supplier of ours. We've received your invoice. And there's also a workflow task in the administrator. Nobody has to action it. They're just saying that, it's just telling us that we are waiting for certain information on this document. So if I go to an inbox that I've set up here for Peter Strom at mailhome.com, the email is not coming through because it's Friday the 13th. I hope everybody's laughing at me now. There we go. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong link. So the workflow engine has now sent me a notification. It's also added the document into my email that I can view, saying that we've received your invoice, but unfortunately we do not have all of the information on file. Obviously completely customizable. The supplier then clicks that link and that opens up a mobile form for, or a web form for him to complete. So let's go ahead and just very quickly capture some basic information for this vendor. You see, if I spell like that, it will not work. Rapid transport, so let's give him an address there. I don't know what zip codes are in Munich. I'm pretty sure that is wrong. And as you can see, I've got certain fields here that's absolutely required fields. I'm not going to fill in the ones now that's not required. I can ask any information here from my supplier as I require. Obviously, contact details, I can make that required as well if I need to. Select what kind of an account it is and what's the payment type. We select on account. 30 days to pay, potentially 10% early payment discount, and early payment day is 10. So if I pay it early and select today's date. And if I'm a tablet, I can quite easily also sign the document. I'm signing it with my mouse. So I don't think I'm signing that ugly. And I'm going to go ahead and submit. So now the supplier has completed this information, and then hopefully very soon, the task for rapid transport that is currently waiting will then update with the information that this form has actually been submitted and I have more information. I also have another task here, so I'm complete with my validation part of my workflow. I've got another task here in another section of the workflow called Book and Pay. This is currently assigned to Elizabeth Cash. All right, so if I click on this document, I can see that this invoice is ready to be paid. I can also right-click on the document. I can say open the workflow history, and I can click here on automatic tasks, and I can see specific tasks that was already completed by the workflow engine. Right? So it was sent to the final approval, and a completion task is currently waiting for this document. And I can see that there's no electronic signatures on the document. I can also take a look at document relations in this case, and I can see that there's an order for US Steel. Apologies, I have run this demo quite a couple of times, so there's a lot of invoices in the system, and I can look at purchase orders that is associated to this document. I can also automatically link the purchase order for a specific invoice to the invoice. So in this case, the invoice actually matched the purchase order and it can be paid. So I can create a booking rate. I can now export CSV files to automatically import into my accounting system. We can also send this information through other methods like web services and so forth to automatically complete this process. I also have other options here, obviously, to request new invoices should the approver in this case see that there is an error on the document. And I can just go ahead and confirm this document. And in most cases, with most document ERP systems or accounting systems that we have integrated with, we can automatically update that information within the accounting system. Right, here I've got another task, new vendor onboarding task, which was the rapid transport documentation. And I can see that DocuWare Forms has automatically overlaid some information into the form for me so that I do not have to manually capture it. It's even imported my very ugly signature there into the document, and I can also look at additional pages that was created by the Forms engine. And it's also captured some additional information for me, right? So it's also automatically created a vendor number for me, and an internal vendor account, which I can also create. Apologies, wrong 0. Credit card information should it have been a credit card that I pay with, in this case it's account, and I can store this information. And once again, we can write that information out to the accounting system. In this specific demo, we store all of this information in DocuWare so that when I get a new invoice now from Rapid Transport, that it can actually match that invoice to the workflow task to the information that was created by that workflow task. I can also here click on folders, and I can now see that I have automatically created folders for accounting based on month, where I have automatically stored the invoices in. So although DocuWare does not necessarily store these documents in folders, I can still give a view to the user of the folders that was created based on the invoices that was captured. This workflow task here I've never completed. Let's complete this one quickly, which was the rapid transport one. I saved it, but I never progressed it. Confirm. So I've got a couple of additional people that had to approve that workflow task. And now I can see additional tasks that was created. Number one for Peter King, and also a validation task was created. If I can find the validation task, I'm jumping a lot between them, for Peggy Jenkins for the amount that she needs to approve. And it's also showing a quick view of what was captured in the split booking, and she can also view the document in question. So if she approves this document and Peter King accepts his amount, it then automatically closes the task, and it gives another task to Elizabeth Cash to approve the 300 from Peggy Jenkins, because Peggy Jenkins is not allowed to approve more than $250. So the workflow engine has automatically identified the amount, and it's only given a certain employee the ability to approve something over a certain amount. And she can go ahead and confirm the document, which will then push the document to book and pay, the same as we did with the document that already had the purchase order. And once again, exactly the same process. In this case, we pay a telephone bill with a credit card. We already have the credit card information stored when we did the supplier onboarding, and I can go ahead and confirm this information. And of course, I can either now generate an automatic email to the supplier to tell them to debit the account, or the information or the amount was already deducted on my credit card, and I'm just storing the document based on that info. Thank you very much. I do not have questions at all. If there is any questions, please go ahead and ask. If not, thank you once again for joining us. And yeah, we're looking forward to chatting to you in the future. Bye-bye.